Welcome back to Funny Blunt Truth. We're on episode 28. We're very happy to have Richard Hawthorne on the podcast. Richard, you want to say hi to the fans out there?
What's going on, guys and gals?
Down
the country.
This is Dave. Don's on a podcast, of course. And for you guys listening, if you don't know who Richard Hawthorne is, Richard the Ant Hawthorne, YouTube his videos right now. The man is incredible. Pretty much world-known powerlifter, weightlifter, and some of his lifts are like absolutely incredible. So, Richard, the first question I have for you is, this is a deep, tough one. Do you like the nickname the Ant?
I think it fits. It stuck as soon as the guy had said, it came out his mouth, probably about 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So,
wow.
I think it fits, and, so I can't not like it if it don't fit, you know? I mean,
right.
Yeah.
And the thing with nicknames is you can't give yourself a nickname, right? Like somebody has to give you your nickname.
Exactly.
And if you fight it, people embrace it that much more. So you just roll with it.
You're exactly right. Right. But so I never did have to fight. I never did try to fight it, but yeah, it stuck immediately.
Yeah, it's really fitting. Some of your lifts are insane. Like I remember the first video I saw of yours, you were deadlifting 600 pounds for 4 reps. And at the time, unless I'm mistaken, the video said you were weighing for like that competition or meet like 135 pounds. It's like, how is that even possible?
Time cures all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what I usually weigh. I usually weigh in between 130 and 132. Well, actually about 128 to 132.
Yeah, that is like absolutely insane. We were talking off air, Richard and I was explaining to him, I said, I lift weights. I've been lifting since I was like 12 years old. It's like a big passion of mine. And, so like I can appreciate how heavy that is. That is like, it's just nuts. Like there's people that weigh like 250 pounds who really can't deadlift that. Like that's a lot of dedication or hard work, I bet.
Yeah, like I said, time has played a big role in it, and I'm a very intuitive person with my body. So I'm always trying to find the absolute truth of everything, and that being a sport that I love, I definitely, did some nitpicking to say the least.
I will say it is amazing. I mean, on my end, I don't know too much about weightlifting and a lot of the stuff Dave's into, like the MMA fighting and whatnot, but I was watching your video earlier, the same one he's talking about, where you did a deadlift at 600 pounds. And I just think to myself, I can barely lift my 50-pound dog without breaking out into a sweat. That's pretty amazing.
We all have our gifts, Don. You're a podcaster, so,
yeah.
And you're a fisherman.
I'm into the arts.
There we go. I love the arts too as well, so.
And movies.
Yeah, I can actually see that. I was cruising through some of your Instagram posts. You definitely like a lot of really nice what do you call them, like quotes from people, famous people, or
Yeah. Like I said, I'm a very spiritual person, which came from my lifting. Mm-hmm. So it's much deeper than just the physical aspect, but what I teach and what I'm about is about all 3 levels, the physical, mental, and spiritual. So it all came together, from a natural type thing that I just grew into, So yeah, that's all me.
Yeah, so I definitely gather you're like a really positive person, Richard. So Richard, like in your big lifts, what do you say is actually more important, the physical or the mental aspect?
Oh, the mental. The mental, by far, but, most people don't get to that level, but spiritual overall. Cause when you can be able to breathe correctly and, connect all 3 together, that's when the body reacts. It's like, that's when you're in that focus and the body just reacts, period. It just do what it's supposed to do without you thinking.
So you're in some type of like zone is what you're saying?
Yep, exactly.
Well, one thing I noticed also from your lifts, Richard, is, you're just so calm. Like, you know, some guys kind of just like rip the weight off the ground and they get all amped up like with adrenaline. It seems like, I mean, it really does seem like you're like so in the zone and focus.
Exactly. And, that's one of, not only, you know, my size amazes people, but how I approach the weight, amazes people as well. And that's exactly what I was talking about. Pretty much what I do is, I control my breathing and, get to a point to where I'm not thinking at all. And, the breath actually helps me do that. And when I feel totally relaxed, that's when it's time. So, yeah.
So, it's interesting you say that because there's an old Formula One driver. His name's Jackie Stewart and he's a 4-time world champ. And he always said you do your fastest lap when you're most relaxed. He's like, you're basically halfway to falling asleep. He's like, you're so calm and you're so zenned out, no emotions there. He's like, that's when he pulled the fastest laps. And it sounds very similar as to what you do.
I mean, by far, I believe, you know, the things that I do, I believe that I'm not special. I just believe that I've learned how to tap into that. And I think, you know, what I'm actually doing could be the average, you know, like you said, just like the Formula One driver, a lot of the greats, tap into that, really tap into that. And like I said, when you become thoughtless, your body reacts. It's just like that saying where a mother, a child is stuck under a car and the mother has to pick up the car.
Yep.
The mind switches off and the body just reacts. Yeah. So, another thing, go ahead.
No, not to cut you off, but it's kind of like you have to accomplish that goal. Like it's like a subconscious thing where you're just gonna lift it.
Exactly. Like, it's no more. The thing is what I gather from and what I teach is it cuts out the ego. Like, when I get ready to walk up to the bar, one thing that I never do is look at the weights on the outside, because if I look at the weights on the outside, that allows me to become aggressive. I'm like, I look at them like, I really got to pick this shit up. I got to be aggressive. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah.
It brings out the rage, or it brings out the aggressiveness. And, when that happens, you definitely won't be able to tap into it. So it's more of your ego. So all your emotions are the very things that make you, miss out on your potential.
You know what's funny, Richard? There's a lot of parallels with like powerlifting and like mixed martial arts and like the fighting world. Cause
yes,
if you go into a fight angry, you're not gonna perform your best. Cause you're not focused and you're like overly aggressive. And then also like with the training, if you practice a punch like 1,000 times, it becomes kind of like muscle memory. Like you just do it. And that's exactly what you want, like with the striking and like grappling and stuff like that. So it's amazing, like the parallels between like powerlifting and like, martial arts and stuff. So I definitely get that.
That's, I'm glad you say that, cause I teach that, as well. All my beliefs and the way I approach powerlifting is totally different from everybody else's. Most powerlifters, do, you know, heavier sets, low reps, heavier sets, and I do a lot of reps. I believe that's a part of it. And,
so you don't believe in maxing out in training, right? You where do you go, like 75%?
I don't even go by percentages. I can't even say it like this. I can't even add up percentages. I don't go by percentages. It's all by feel for me. You know what I mean? Cause I don't know if I'm gonna, get the right food in that day, or if I didn't sleep that night, if I had a hard physical day. So, you know, if I go to training and I have to do 75% and my body physically not up to it, and I miss, say it's supposed to be my second set. Say if I miss that, then my whole workout is messed up. And not only that, mentally, I'm thinking, if I'm getting ready for like a competition, mentally I'm thinking, well, I'm supposed to get that weight. Now I'm behind, and now I'm going to rush the rest of my training cycle for this meet. So it's to me, that's defeating, you know? So,
that's so cool, and interesting that, you just do things by feel. And I guess that's like by doing it so many years. The action star and martial artist Van Damme, he has the same philosophy with weight training. He doesn't even like count the weight that he like lifts with. He just kind of like has a feel for it, like what's good for him.
I never knew
that. I didn't know that about him either, but yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in feel. I believe that the things that we call tangible are the very things that throws us off, you know, and that's a huge downfall for a lot of people, I believe, you know.
Can you go over? I saw something interesting on your on your Instagram account where you talked about two different forms of lifting, raw versus gear. What exactly do you mean by that? Because there's a lot of times I don't watch that many sports, but I do watch Formula One, obviously, and they always talk about mechanical grip versus aerodynamic grip, which for the layperson wouldn't necessarily understand. So when I hear something like raw lift versus gear lift, it really piques my interest because it sounds like something very similar, but I don't have a clue what it is.
Well, what it is it's gear is suits. Suits actually helps you. It gives you support. It keeps you safer, and it actually help you in strength as well. So, I want to say around 2007, a lot of people started getting away from gear. So a lot of squat suits and deadlift suits and bench shirts, they started to drop that. And then, competition started to become more and more just lifting raw. And right now it's all raw pretty much. You know, you have only a few geared meets now. So that's what I meant. It's equipment actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like Richard, the shirts, they're like very stiff, right? And that's what that's what kind of helps you, like with benching and deadlifts.
Yes. That's what they, that's what, the suits are. They're,
that's just to keep you more rigidized?
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, it gives support. So the more support you have, the more compression and, you have a rebound of sense to it.
Richard, I have a question for you, and I'm sure you probably had this one, but I'm sure like the listeners, tuning in right now probably would want to know, when was the first time you picked up a set of weights and like what started you on this whole journey?
Well, a guy in my neighborhood, a good friend of mine, but, asked me if I wanted to, powerlift for the high school. I was in 9th grade and they needed a 114er. So the 114er is the smallest, weight class for the guys. And obviously I'm still, you know, I'm still small, but,
they hella powerful though.
Yeah. Yeah. They kind of convinced me to do it. And, the first year, there's three competitions in high school. I mean, 3 meets in high school. So you have district, South State, and state. And, my district and South State, district, I had nobody to compete against. And South State, I had 2 guys. And I pulled it off. And then, state, it was a full roster. And, I pulled it off by 5 pounds. And after that meet, I literally stated that, I was going to be pound for pound strongest person in the world. And I was going to own my own gym, right after that meet. So, I really talk about that a lot because, that's exactly what I've done in my life. So, along with a few other things I stated that right after as well.
Mm-hmm. I have to say, I mean, I've seen other big lifts by other powerlifters, but these guys are weighing like far greater than you. We're talking like 100 pounds and up, you know, there's like 400-pound dudes, 350-pound dudes. And, what you lift based on your weight, it's like almost unnatural. It's absolutely insane.
Well, I think that's why that name fits, the ant, right? Because ants can lift, like 10 times their own body weight or something.
Yeah.
It's, go ahead, Richard.
I went down to Australia and, that in 2013 and, I officially lifted 11.34 times my body weight. That was the most in history.
Wow.
At the time. But you're correct. One thing that I feel like, that benefited me was that at age 18, I realized, I'm 32 now, I realized that my body weight can no longer influence, the weight on the bar. And once I realized that, I figured out that I need to be damn near perfect when I lift. And I had the pleasure of training with that thought for 16 years now. And guys that's heavier haven't even thought about that or even reached that point to where, 4 times body weight to where they even have to think about that. Their body weight, their mass can actually still influence the weight. Mm-hmm. So I think that contributes to it a lot.
Yeah, it's like you have to have flawless technique based on your body weight to get the max lifts, whereas other guys, like you're saying, they're weighing like 350, you know, like really big dudes. And it's like when you see like the world's strongest men, like on that competition, most of those guys are big, and you know, like their weight is like helping them with these lifts, as you said. So with you, it's almost like, you know, it's like a blind guy having to have sharper hearing. So it's like you being a little smaller, you gotta have that perfect technique to get these huge lifts. So that's really amazing.
Is that a big portion of it too? Like there's the actual like physical technique, like the actual structuring of the way you're standing and how you actually move your body through the motions?
Oh yeah. Most definitely. What I teach is totally different from anybody else. And I pretty much, I'm not going to get too much into it. Because people pay for it. But I've done, what I've done is, I broke it all the way down to energy. I'm not the smartest guy by no means, but, I sat out some years and really.
Neither are we.
I really dug into what I was feeling when I was lifting, and I pretty much broke it down to physics and geometry and the way the body should be worked. So I'm really proud of that, and a lot of people think I'm just built for deadlifts, and that's definitely not the case, or my squat wouldn't be as strong as it is, or my bench as well.
Well, I think a lot of people, have the idea that when they see somebody who's a professional, they just think that came to them naturally, because they don't see the years and the endless hours put into practicing, in anything, whether it be weightlifting, arm wrestling, or even like singing. You know, I think you hit the nail on the head when people are like, yeah, you're built for it, so you can do it. But that's just not that you trained for a long time, you know?
Exactly. I get that a lot too. Definitely get that a lot, but it is what it is. And, I just, what I love is being able to show people what I do, and they say, and they get that light bulb moment, like, wow, it's not just that, you know? That's where I'm at now. I'm still lifting and competing. I've been out of, I haven't been competing as much because I've been turning everything over to, doing seminars and teaching people these movements, actually giving them a new perspective of how we're supposed to move, not just lifting, but how we're supposed to move. And,
does that translate all that stuff, that teaching, into like the normal world, like sitting in an office desk, walking around? Does that like change any of that as well?
Oh, no. I mean, what I've came up with, this format is how we actually supposed to move as human beings.
All around.
All around. So this format actually works with, you can take it and put it on gymnastics. You could take it and put it in jiu-jitsu. You can put it in yoga. I really looked and questioned everything that not only I've done, but what others have done and taught. So that's a big thing to me, is perspective. Because one, words are very powerful and dangerous. So a word like the word pool, that word has disrupt the very the very thought of what a deadlift is. And that's why I believe I have such great form, because I believe the deadlift is not a pull, it's a push. So just that thought pull, you're thinking about pulling it up with your back, and your back is doing nothing but maintaining the weight, and your joints are doing the function.
Yeah, I saw, I was going to ask you about that also, Richard, how your philosophy, a deadlift isn't a pull, it's a push. I saw a video you talking about that, and like, I don't want to get into too much detail because you do seminars and stuff, but going back to something a little bit back, in my limited experience with lifting and deadlifts, Don, you asked something about like, and there's a lot to it in detail. And like I said, I'm not even going to throw my number out there because this is embarrassing compared to Richard's.
No,
but,
man, don't even think that.
But Don, it goes. I mean, there's so many little details, like how close your shin is next to the bar, like your posture, form, breathing. I mean, it really does help with getting weight up. But Richard, I have another question for you. It's kind of deep. So what is weightlifting and powerlifting? What does it mean to you, and what does it do for you? Is it a passion? Is it a stress release? Is it a way of life?
I'm glad you asked that. It could get a little deep here. Like I told you, it goes on all three dimensions: physical, mental, and spiritual for me. This is not only, I believe everything that is done out there should be an art. And for me, this is a discipline. So anytime when you have an art or a discipline, it translates to life. And this translates to life for me big time. Here's how I kind of put just fitness in general, and a lot of people are kind of clueless. A lot of people don't know why they get stuck in the gym. People go into the gym for the cosmetic side. I want to look this way, or I need to lose this, whatever. They going in for one goal, which is always the appearance. But as they go in there, and they're trying to figure out, how to reach those goals, they start to troubleshoot. Okay. Once they start to troubleshoot, they see small little changes. So they start to get a little, self-esteem. They start to get a little, determination. They start to get a little, motivation and dedication. So they start to build all these mental aspects. So they learn how to troubleshoot, and they start to grow as a person. Okay. And that's that's what keeps them in there, because they start to feel good about themselves. And each time they go in, they feel better and better and better and better. Mm-hmm. So they go in for one aspect, the physical aspect, but they grow mentally. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But as you get in there and you start understanding a lot more, which most people don't get there, mostly athletes, just athletes that's been doing a certain thing get there, but it starts to become spiritual. Mm-hmm. That's where you see, people like Michael Jordan. When it's time, he just don't miss. You know what I mean? He just takes over the game because he's in that zone. Yeah. That's what it is for me, because when you start to get all that, what people don't realize is that it don't stay in the gym. It goes outside the gym. You start for your actual work, whatever you do outside of work or at home, you start to be dedicated at whatever you're doing. So it leaks over. It's a parallel of life. Mm-hmm. And especially lifting. What a lot of people don't understand is that movement is evolution within itself. One thing that I believe, one thing that I kind of teach is that like I said, movement is evolution. So when we move, the more you move, the more the blood is circulating in your body. So the blood sends all the hormones and stuff to the bones and to the joints and things like that. So you're better off. Okay. So what usually happens when somebody retire, 3 to 5 years, they pass away. So what's actually happening is that you literally saying, I don't need you. You telling your body that you don't need it. So because the blood flow is not going throughout the body. Okay. So it's not sending those hormones, to the bones and to the joints and to all the organs like it's supposed to. That's why people get stiff and can't move around. And then you're literally saying, okay, I'm too good for you, body. I'm going to evolve. So you leave the body. That's how I kind of look at it. But also in powerlifting, or not just in powerlifting, but in resistance training with weights, what people don't understand is, that our metabolism, what I just got through talking about, people think metabolism, is, how good you burn calories and things like that. That's not your metabolism. Metabolism is the essence of evolution. Okay. That's sustaining your structure. That's, reproducing, and that's, adapting to your environment. So with resistance training, that's exactly what you're doing. So when you're lifting with weights, whether it's super heavy or not, what you're actually doing, you're adapting to your environment. So your bone structure will become denser because you're being under a load. And then your joints are also becoming more durable to last that. And your balance is getting better and better. So what's some of the first things that go for older people is their balance, and their bones get brittle. And also lifting and movement helps with the cognitive, part as well. So I believe lifting, resistance training is evolution within itself. So I believe it's far more to it than just lifting. And what I'm trying to get people to do is understand that.
Yeah, Richard, with me, like I said, I'm a pretty big fitness guy, and, I get a lot what you're saying. For me, like, I have to have like a goal, and I think people should have a goal. So like you said, you feel good about yourself when you hit like PRs and stuff like that. And then, I have a background. I've trained MMA for like some years, and, I would push myself in the gym, and, people would like, let's say they apply like a choke, and, you can like tap out or something once they kind of got you. But I would train my mind to like not quit right away and try to fight the choke off, because, you just subconsciously train yourself not to quit. So when you come out the gym, you have that approach towards life too, and like every other thing. And the same thing with weightlifting, when you push your body to its limits, you just develop like mental toughness. That's what I believe, and I could really relate to what you're saying. I get it. How about you, Don? On some level, do you,
Yeah, all the experience that I have is always in racing. I mean, I was an instructor for many years after racing for a long time, and not NASCAR, and turning left and right Formula racing, and I completely understand what you're saying in that respect about pushing beyond where you think you can, because you'll get to a point, at least in the racing industry, where maybe you have like an endurance race or races back to back, and you'll be in the car. And you're still needing to pull off those Zen-like lap times we were talking about, but you need to do that with 20 other people on the track while your ribs are still bleeding from all the G-forces. And, you're in a multi-layer, Nomex suit with gloves and a helmet, the engine strapped to your back, the fuel tank's under your ass. And, you're 120 degrees inside. Your brain is at complete maximum. You can't take any more input in, and you need to do that without killing yourself for another 40 minutes. So, yeah, and from that, you definitely grow. I feel like that's definitely a workout in and of itself. And, I completely side with, what you were saying, Richard, about, helping you out fully. I feel like I was way more fit back in my days, even though I never really exercised that much. I'm a pretty lean guy, but just doing that stuff alone, I felt very much better, more flexible, I don't know, just all around better. But I can kind of, it's not essentially like being choked out into a fight and trying to push that out, but I can understand where you guys are coming from on a lot of that,
No, I mean, it's definitely, it's all the same. It's definitely all the same. And with yours, it is physical as well. But that's really, I mean, all of it is mental. All of it is
it's so mental.
Comes down. But yeah.
No, I completely agree. And there's a lot of that in the racing. I mean, it's just, I wish more people had the experience to hop into a car and go around a track and realize how difficult all that is, mentally speaking. Hitting on all these points, all the structure you have to do, the turn in, the brake, the apex, all that stuff, and still battling it out with like 30 other people and trying not to kill yourself at the same time.
That sounds interesting. I mean, I love hearing the mechanics and the small things about every sport. That really interests me, because that's just who I am. I'm always wanting to find the little things, you know what I mean? What makes a person great.
Honestly, in formula, in circuit racing, I should just say not formula, but in circuit racing, there is never perfection. I mean, you have never done like the correct lap. You know what I mean? There's always, I should have turned in a little bit sooner. I missed the apex by, 6 inches over there. I didn't get on power. I slid out a little bit more coming out of this corner. Excuse me, there's never quite exact perfection, so it's that never ending. You might actually really like it if there's a racing school around where you're at. Yeah. If you ever get the chance to go to one, you should try it out.
Hey, and if they got to change a tire, Richard could just lift the car up. They don't even need a crew.
I did say I was going to create a shirt one day, that says, "Yes, I lift, but no, I won't help you move."
That's hilarious. That's like having a truck. Everybody expects you to help them move,
Exactly.
But a lot of the greats in like a lot of sports, they're like experts in like the basics and details. There's like this like world class jiu-jitsu guy called Damian Maia. He's in the UFC. He's a title contender. He's probably the best jiu-jitsu guy in MMA, and he's like a master at like the basics, That's another thing I think that the greats are good at. It's like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan used to like shoot like 1,000 free throws, like, practicing
crazy.
But didn't Michael Jordan still miss like half of every shot that he took? Like he only made 50%, but he was still considered one of the best.
I don't know about that. I think Jordan's the greatest ever. That's my opinion, but go ahead, Richard.
No, he may be the greatest, but I'm still saying out of all the practicing, I still think his percentage was still only 50%, and that got him to that level of greatness.
Yeah, I think it was, I'm not sure what percentage it was. I mean, but it wasn't super outrageous, but yeah, it sounds somewhere around 50%. Another guy is, Steph Curry, he's, one of those guys that just practice his craft, and, he's, he just battled, LeBron James, which I'm not a big fan of LeBron James at all, but, he just, battled LeBron James in the championship this past year. But I mean, by far, I believe he's so much greater than LeBron James within itself. just period, you know.
That's another thing with sports too, is like, it's like when a boxer slows down and then a younger buck comes up and they're doing well. People forget about the accomplishments of the greats. And, you know, I think Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player ever. You know, LeBron James is like the new guy, and people say, oh, LeBron James is the greatest. How is LeBron James the greatest? He hasn't even been around that long. You know what I'm saying? Like half of the accomplishments, like it's just absurd. And it's just like this younger crowd. They don't know any better, you know?
And to me, he's soft. I'm sorry to cut you off, but to me, he's soft. He's not mentally there. So I mean, he's a physical specimen, you know what I mean? And I think he could be so much greater than what he is. Mm-hmm. That's just me.
Don, what about you in racing? Do you notice that, in the race world, like people kind of forget the accomplishments of the greats for the new best thing? The new great
Not
thing?
necessarily, because they're held in kind of like a mythological view. You know, if you're in any type of surrounding or anybody knows anything about racing and you bring up the name Ayrton Senna, everybody's instantly going to know who he is. There's been like multiple movies made, you know, Michael Schumacher, everybody knows him. So in the racing industry, I think you kind of get a special pass because it's so rare because to get those greats, you really have to have a combination of so much going right at the right time. You have to be there at the right place at the right time, performing at your peak, and everything kind of has to all hit on key at the same time for that to happen to be a great. So I think it's more of the fact in racing that the people who don't get a chance to be great really get overlooked, you know. So sometimes, just say for example, you know, you came into the sport, Dave, and, you know, you've raced whatever series and you've won almost every single race you've entered. You're this new hot show.
Oh, that's what I would do, totally.
You get signed by a team. So you start on this thing, but the team has issues, and the entire 2 seasons that you have a contract for, you barely finish anything. So you might be one of the greatest racers that never got an opportunity. And that's usually the case in the racing industry, not the other way around.
It's so many variables, man. Many variables.
Tons of, and even if you get onto like a top team like Ferrari, they're struggling right now because they don't have their shit together. So,
man.
You know, that's one of those things, you know, so it could easily be forgotten, but not necessarily like a great person who accomplished great things, but a great person who was just never given the opportunity to accomplish great things.
Yeah.
Little change of, pace, a little different direction, but, Richard, I have another question. Who inspires you, whether it's like famous, alive, dead, it could be more than one person, but who has given you inspiration?
My training partner, he got me started. And I always looked up to him, and he was a phenom himself when he was younger. And his name is Tony Caprari. I always just did my best when I was around him, you know what I mean? But it's another guy that I'm actually still chasing his record. His deadlift record is 683 at 132, and he did that 2 years after I was born. And that was that's the all-time of all-time deadlifts ever. I've been chasing that. That's more of motivation, just chasing that. Like looked up to anybody. I've always been not worrying about anybody else, not in a selfish way, but not worrying about anybody else but me. I feel like we get lost in competing with others, or trying to beat others to where it allows us to fall short from being great, you know? So I never really had somebody to where I was like, you know, they really pushed me. Other than, like I said, my training partner now, when he was around and we work out together, I had great sessions because, that was just the vibe, you know what I mean? But I've always stuck to what I wanted to accomplish, and that's what always kind of motivated me.
Yeah, we spoke to other guests, and some of them have had like the same mindset of like, don't worry about what other people are doing, like focus on your life, you know. And like you said, it's not even like a cocky, selfish thing. It's just that's the best way to like approach life and goals. Richard, what are some of your best personal records, and have you ever sustained any significant like injury?
Okay, I'm gonna go with the injury part because I'm really proud of that. I've been lifting for 17 years at probably the highest weight to body weight ratio and had no major injuries. Now everybody get little tweaks and things, but no major injuries at all whatsoever. So I'm very proud of that, and I think the proof is in the pudding when it comes to that, you know, with the technique that I use and some of my beliefs and how I do things. Now with my best the best deadlift I did raw was 601. My best deadlift in a suit was 650. My best bench raw was 308, and my best bench in a shirt was 328. Squat raw was 562, and in a suit was 520. In a suit was 722.
Oh my God!
For a double. That was back in 2005 before Katrina, but I had to quit powerlifting due to Katrina. I lost both jobs, and my daughter was born a week after Katrina.
Wow.
So but yeah, those are my best lifts. Yeah, those are my best lifts.
Having no injuries in that amount of time lifting and the level that you're at that's absolutely amazing. And like, you know, it has to be attributed to like your technique and your form and your philosophies on lifting. Richard, I got a fun question. Going through this, you know, lifting and being in powerlifting, have you ever gotten a kick out of like outlifting guys way bigger than you? Like people who doubted you, or you walk into a gym and they look at you and size you up like, oh, look at this guy, and you just like smoke them. Do you get a kick out of that?
Well, that was part of my motivation too. And from the beginning, my motivation kind of changed. It just changed as it went. But in the beginning, you know, when they asked me to powerlift, you know, and coming into the field house or going to a gym, I see people look at me as if like, what is he doing here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the very thing that drove me at the beginning was if you can do it, I can do it. And that's just how I always been, before then, because I grew up in a very, very competitive neighborhood. We had a neighborhood park and we had woods. And when I say competitive neighborhood, I mean competitive neighborhood. We played everything from football, basketball to golf, croquet, street hockey. We played everything. So I was one of the youngest in that generation. It ranged from age 8 to 19, where we was always playing sports every day, all day, with a range of 20 to 30 kids. So very competitive neighborhood. And if I wasn't able to compete, then I would find myself sitting on the sideline watching everybody else compete. So I had to troubleshoot real young. So that's just what I did. And that's what developed me to who I am, you know, as a child, you know, being 8 years old, wanting to play with everybody else, you know, and they very competitive. I just had to learn how to find my way through it to be able to compete.
It's amazing how everything happens for a reason, and like,
exactly,
things mold you in life, you know?
Exactly.
Don, do you have a question? Cause I got a few more.
No, you can keep firing off, man. You're on a roll, dude.
Okay. Thank you. No, I'm like legitimately curious about all this. It's fascinating. I'm a fan. So, Richard, what's your diet like? Do you have a special diet? Do you eat whatever you want?
So, before this year and, before this year got a little more serious, and last year, I started switching things up. Before then I didn't really, I just ate, you know, and I still wasn't a big eater. I never been a big eater. I was a meat and potato type of person, but, I didn't eat a lot, but, last year, I ate a little cleaner, just because, I had a personal trainer at my gym. He wanted to, cook my meals, and he did. He was real good at what he did. And, so I ate a little cleaner last year, but with my growth and the more I'm always evolving. So the more I get into, the spiritual aspect of what I do, the more things change with me. And, I'm winging myself off of meat. I'm trying to go vegan, which is very hard, but I feel so much better. My thinking is so much better, and I get cleaner energy, but it's still kinks that I have to figure out. I'm not a big person. I'm not a big person that go and read, you know, read how other vegans eat and things like that, which is a good thing to do, but I'm always trying to find my own way. I'm always trying to figure it out myself. But that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to transition to become vegan and, see how that works for me. I don't even want to say that I believe it's going to work. I know it's going to work for me. And, it's just, being able to, it's just getting to that point, you know, to figuring it all out. So that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Powerlifting and trying to go vegan. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I do think, I know you're on a roll and I let you go with that one. I do think it is time. It's about that time. Do you think it's that time in the show? I do.
For the rapid fire?
For the rapid fire. Nobody escapes. Nobody escapes. Nobody is safe.
This is fun, Richard. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, it's a big old goof time. I'm just going to ask you simple this or that things that may or probably, actually not may or may not. They pretty much will get more complex as it goes on, but it's all in good fun. Just, you know, it'll be simple stuff like if I'm going to ask you right now off the top of your head, which would you prefer, water or wine? You would say?
Water.
So that's the name of the game, and we're just going to do this for a minute or so. Excuse me, decided to breathe saliva. Would you rather have Pac-Man the game or a pet rock?
Pac-Man.
All right. Would you rather get stuck in a rainstorm or stuck in a snowstorm?
Rainstorm.
Would you rather have regular lemonade or pink lemonade?
Regular.
All right. Would you rather have pizza or French fries? Something simple there.
Pizza!
No, all the way.
For sure,
dude,
for sure.
I love pizza, dude. I'll tell you what, man.
Deluxe
I
pizza,
make my
no
own.
sausage.
Dude.
Pizza was my life.
I love it, dude. You really should. If you ever get like a KitchenAid thing, you should try making it yourself. If you ever get the chance to, it's awesome. I think it tastes so much better, but, not to go on there too long. One day on Mars or one day in the White House?
Oh, Mars.
That was quick. Forget Earth on Mars.
Yeah. That's all me.
Would you rather be on a tropical island or a snow-capped mountain?
Tropical island.
All right. Road trip buddy, Justin Bieber or Keith Richards? You gotta pick one.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, I don't know. Keith Richards.
He still has some cool stories.
Yeah.
I probably would have picked Keith also.
Yeah.
If you had to repeat one section of school, which would it be?
High school.
All right.
11th grade to be specific.
Why so specific? What happened in 11th grade? Was that like first girlfriend?
I didn't. I ran the school. I felt like I did any and everything I wanted to in 11th grade.
You probably were the strongest guy in the school. That's not a surprise.
I don't know. It just worked out. It just worked out like that. That year was a good year.
That's always good. Let's see. I don't know if you're a fan of older movies or comedy movies, but would you rather watch Happy Gilmore or Billy Madison?
Billy Madison.
All right. Now, would you rather have a life without sex or life without a gym?
That's fucked up. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's a damn, Don.
It doesn't get easier.
You're gonna put him on a spot like that? That's a tough one.
Oh, man.
I'll just get out of shape.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get fat. Yeah.
Nah, I'm gonna stay true. I'm gonna say life, but I can't. That's wrong, man. That's not right.
Can you get a pass on this one, Don?
Can I forfeit this one? Can I just move on? Come back to it.
You're gonna say I'm not taking either. I'm going my own path. I'm keeping sex and gym.
Exactly. I'm keeping them both.
We don't really hold you in guidelines. I forget we had one celebrity one time. I asked him if he'd rather lose hearing or lose sight, and he goes, "I don't want anything, and I want a third eye to see the world with, or something like that." I was like, all right, that's how you answer.
There we go. There we go.
All right, just for the last one. In the future, a couple of years down the road, maybe you're not as fit as you are now. You've been kidnapped by a couple of really strong dudes. You have a choice to fight either Mike Tyson or a honey badger high on PCP. Which one do you take?
Honey badger on PCP. A honey badger. Man, it's pretty. I'll take Mike Tyson.
Really? Why would you take Tyson?
Yes. I think I can. You said I think I still be in better shape. Then I think I can at least run for a good bit. And I mean, I don't know when the honey badger will actually stop. So Mike Tyson, his wind is not as good, so that's a better chance.
What Dave said the other day, because we were discussing this, Dave goes, he said he would fight Mike Tyson because after one hit, he'd probably be in a coma and just not feel it after that.
Exactly.
Honey badger will maim you.
Yeah, honey badger, they don't think, they just keep going. So, after somebody knock you out, most of the time it's it.
Yeah, that's it. It's a wrap.
Honey badger will just go and eat your eyes out. Have you seen that video on YouTube?
The honey badger a few years ago?
Yeah. When he's like, honey badger don't care. Honey badger doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Honey badger,
or whatever.
Kick Chuck Norris's ass.
Yeah, I think I would go with Tyson for the same reason. Just get knocked flat on my ass.
Yeah, dude, honey badgers, freaking, Tasmanian devils. What's another little vicious one out there?
Wolverines.
Raccoons are pretty vicious as well.
Oh yeah. Raccoons are nasty little suckers.
Yeah.
Don, you good with the rapid fires?
Yeah, that's everything I got.
All right. Richard, I know we've had you on here for a bit. Only got a few more questions, promise. So for the people listening out there and your fans, what are some other hobbies you're into or other things you're passionate about?
I've been passionate about just figuring life out. That's just been my life lately. I mean,
so you're like philosophical then?
Yes,
deep thinker?
Very, very, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm into now, just figuring out things. And that's mostly Sagittarius. But,
like a trait?
But, I'm sorry?
Like a trait of like a Sagittarius?
Yeah, like the sign, yeah. That's just me, I'm always trying to find the absolute truth about everything and trying to figure everything out.
Yeah, I spend my time also just thinking about life. Like today, as a matter of fact, I was just sitting by the water and, the biggest thing I think about most of the time is like, it's, not to get super deep, but like, what is the meaning of life? Like, what's our purpose here? What does this all mean? And we've like talked about it on a podcast also. I think the meaning of life is just like to grow and experience life, find happiness, and as corny as it sounds, like help others, along the way. But
no, I definitely believe the same thing. And to back up just a little bit, I am getting back to wanting to be in nature more and more and more. Like I said, when we was little, we stayed in the woods, playing manhunt and things like that. But it's been eating me away to go hike or something like that as well. So, just being in nature.
Isn't there like an amazing energy, Richard, like when you're in nature?
Yes.
It's natural. Like we're meant to be there. Like Don and I have talked about this, like concrete and all this system and city around us. Like to me, it's not natural, and it's not a surprise that there's so much like depression out there and issues,
anxiety.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's a big part of it.
I think even people that live in a city who say they don't feel those ways do. Like it still eats at them even if they're not aware of it, because everybody gets burned out at some point of being in a city, always being around movement and sirens and lights and like shit always going like on and on and on and on, never taking a break.
The hardest thing for a human being to do, one of the hardest things is being able to sit in silence or be still and sit in silence. That's just hard.
I'll tell you what, man. I told the story before, so our listeners probably are already aware of it, but I got married out in Tahiti. And when you go out there, we spent 3 weeks out there. There's no billboards, there's no radio, there's no TV, there's nothing. I mean, you have society, you still have places to buy food, you still have people and stuff, but they don't really care about that stuff, and it's extra money they don't want to spend that they don't have. So you don't really see all of it. You're not bombarded. So within even just a couple of days, you get used to the sound of like, I don't want to say just nature, but of things, the trees, the wind, the ocean, and that just becomes your natural surrounding, like your playlist that you hear all the time. And then after 3 weeks, I remember to this day, and it's interesting you were talking about wanting to get back to nature. Within 3 weeks, we landed back in LAX, which is one of the worst airports in the world. Yeah. And we were sitting there just trying to get a coffee, and we couldn't move. We were almost just, not like paralyzed, but just stuck. We got out of the terminal, and we sat there, and we're looking at this horde of people just rushing the Starbucks in and out and pushing each other out of the way. There's people like speaking over the loudspeaker looking for lost stuff. There's radio advertisements, people pushing us out of the way. And we were like, oh my God, this is like, it was like going through, not like withdrawal, but like, what do you call it? Culture shock.
Yeah.
No, so I think you don't realize sometimes how much you actually need to get away into nature.
I mean, yeah, you do. I went to, Alaska not too long ago to do a seminar.
Jealous.
Oh man, it was heaven. Literally, it was heaven. And, the host and, I stayed with him and his family, and they stayed on a lake. And like everything about Alaska, I was like, okay, I'm gonna end up moving here, even though I hate cold weather. You know, it was perfect. The weather was up there, it was perfect. But yeah, it was just, okay, this is what I need.
It's amazing how sometimes you enter into that scenario and you don't know you need it until you get there. And then you're like, whoa, I feel complete right now. Or, you feel relaxed,
Exactly. And like you said, you was talking about the noise, and I kind of brought it up. You never, with noise, you never think about the present moment. It's always, noise is a distraction. And, that's where we all tend to make bad decisions in bigger cities. A lot of things are going on because it's just so many distractions, and noise is a big part of it, and we never really sit and think about who we are as people. And I think that's what the city or our civilization, our
society,
it's a big issue.
It's sitting at, it's a huge issue. and in my eyes. So yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting view. I do agree with it also. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, I know. I was just saying, and I agree. I just think that people don't realize, that's the thing, is when they're there, they're doing the stuff. They don't realize the effect it has. Like when we left, I thought I was already chill and calm because, I'm from the South. We live in a relatively calm area. Like I never see ambulances or whatever, but, there's still a lot of stress because, there's the travel to work, there's the getting in trouble, there's the making sure you clock out on time, there's this, that, the bills, all this, that, and then there's constant, like you said, there's noise whether or not you realize it. And then when I went away, it was one of those things like I didn't even realize like I needed it. And I went out and when I came back, I was like, no, I want to go back to the South Pacific. Screw this.
Yeah.
Yeah, Richard, I grew up in, Bronx, New York, so I grew up in the inner city. Oh. Yeah, and I wound up moving to New England like in '97, and it was like a huge just like environment change and culture shock for me. And like I never want to move back to the city. Like it's just not for me. I like being in nature. I like a slower pace, and I definitely get what you're saying about the whole noise thing. I can't deal with the traffic and the hustle and bustle. This is not for me,
Yep, yep. And that's one thing too.
Go ahead, Richard.
It's kind of off of it, but yeah, I hate traffic and I hate having to pay or look for parking.
Yes.
I completely agree 100% with you.
I always have fantasies of, like having like a bazooka and just leaning out my window like an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Oh my God. But, I gotta
blow him out of the way.
I just got 2 more questions for you, Richard, promise. So when it's all said and done, what do you hope to achieve like with this whole journey with powerlifting?
I believe powerlifting is my tool, and I believe my whole purpose is to draw people in with powerlifting, teach them how to move and the importance of movement and the evolution part of the mental and spiritual side of it, to where I believe I'm doing my job to evolve a person at a time to become a better person. And when that person becomes a better person, it just makes our society that much better, because right now our society is mentally weak and controlled, and so much more it's just a lot of stuff that's actually going on. It's too many sheep, you know what I mean? And nobody really follows their own road, and I believe it's my job, since I have this gift, I believe it's my job to spread it and to teach them, a way to get back to themselves. So when that happens, they can give back to somebody else and it just gets better. So that's my whole envision with my seminars and my lifting and all that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. It's amazing. We should actually have you come back on and talk about life, because Don and I, we have similar views on like this whole system in society. We've had episodes on that. There's a lot of things wrong with this whole system, and like I agree with you. Like there are a lot of sheeple out there, The news and media doesn't help,
oh no,
sways people, changes mentalities. Like it's there's a lot wrong. But
you get way too involved with that stuff. People love to find that shit, and then they reinforce it. And I can't remember what it's called, but I just read an article about this. This happens on like every podcast. We talk about something. People, when they find this stuff, like when you're talking about on the news being influenced and stuff, they find what makes them interested, and then they just keep watching it and keep investing into it and follow it on social media, and it kind of reinforces these things that I do think, like what you're saying, when we're having like a weaker culture mentally, I think that kind of leads to that, because then they follow, and then whatever that one person or group says, that person or group is 100% correct, and you don't know why, and they're going to tell you why. And they're just blindly following people, I feel.
Well, and negativity too, man. If you're just talking about media, I mean, the only thing that's reported is negative stuff, I mean, there's so much good that happens.
Fear-mongering.
There's so much good that happens in the world, but it's not reported because there's no ratings there, But, Richard, Don, do you have any other questions?
No, I'd just like to thank Richard for being on. It was very enlightening, fun episode.
Oh,
I
totally.
appreciate it. I'm glad to be on here. It's definitely fun and interesting.
I'm glad you had a good time, Richard. It was an honor to have you on. You were very gracious with your time and super cool, down to earth, and humble. We're going to plug whatever you want in the description of the episode, websites or whatever. But for the people listening, do you have anything you want to plug, like seminars or where can the fans reach you?
You can reach me on my Instagram at Richard_Hawthorne. You can DM me there. You can reach me on my YouTube, Richard, the Ant Hawthorne, and also my Facebook, Richard Hawthorne. Or, if you're ever down in Biloxi, Mississippi or D'Iberville, Mississippi, my gym is called Southern Elite. And, also, if you are interested in one of my seminars, hit me up in one of those, medias and, we can go further with that.
Awesome. And, like I said, we're definitely going to plug all that. And, once again, Richard, just thank you for being on. It really was a pleasure. And that's all I got. So, great.
You want me to pull us out there, Dave?
If you want to take us out, it'd be great.
That's fine by me. I wasn't sure if that's what you were going for. We're just making this show up as we go. Well, if anybody wants to find us, they can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's at Funny Blunt Truth Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us on what's that one? iTunes. That's what it is. Make sure you subscribe, rate, tell us we suck, tell us we're great. Whatever the case is, it helps us all out in the end. And you can email us, if you have an idea for a guest, a question, anything. It's, funnybluntruthpodcast@gmail.com. For Richard Hawthorne, our special guest, Dave, myself, Don. This has been episode 28 of Funny Blunt Truth. We'll see you on the next one.